So, first of all, I hope every one of you watched my last video. I also hope that you have taken the time and look in my YouTube catalog and have watched the video about the one who wears the ribbon of St. George is one that's going to launch nuclear weapons that's going to destroy the third part of the earth. Now you will say, well, Henry, you were saying that Israel is going to do this. Israel is going to fire weapons at Russia, and they are going to use a Samson option. But when? When? What is the timeline? Today, I think I'm going to get closer to the timeline than I ever have before. And I'm going to make the case today that you should have a food supply and whatever ready for at least a year. For at least a year. Let me go ahead and get started on this. I'm going to go to this article here. Then I have a YouTube video that I want to play that's about 5-6 minutes long. It is very, very important that you understand the gravity of the situation that we are in today. As you know, if you've been reading the news or watching the news, or if you watched my YouTube video the other day, that Joe Biden authorized Ukraine to use long-range missiles against Russia to strike deep inside of Russia, and at the same time France and Great Britain authorized them to use Scalp missiles and the other one, I can't remember what the name of it is, that does essentially the same thing, and Russia has always said that that would be crossing the nuclear threshold. Okay? Now, I'm not going to sit here and make judgments about who is right and who is wrong. That part right there is none of my concern. My concern is with the redemption of Israel and restoring all Israel back into their land. That means all practicing Jews, halacha Jews, all non-practicing Jews, all Jews who are crypto Jews, and all Israel of the lost 10 tribes. That is my focus, my concern. And not only that, no, that's not all. But the Gentiles, the Rahabs, who are Zionists. And I may want to go to that particular scripture first. I wasn't going to, but it just came to me. But I want to point something out. Okay. Rachab, or Rachab. Okay? Yehoshua, not Joshua. Yehoshua led the children of Israel into the promised land. Yehoshua, number 2, Yehoshua is going to send a directive to the 2 witnesses, to the messengers, to bring all the children of Israel back into the promised land. Okay? This is Yehoshua ben Nun, not Yehoshua ben David, but Yehoshua ben David is going to be the one who sends the directive, the order, to bring all Israel back home in the last days. Sent out from Shittim, 2 men, to spy secretly, saying, Go view the land Jericho. And they went and they came into a harlot's house, Zanah. Now you see what it says right there. That's literally a harlot. There's no way of getting around it. I have heard preachers and whoever else, maybe rabbis too, who tried to, she wasn't, no, she was a harlot. She was a servicer of men. Let's get that abundantly clear. Named Rachab, and lodged there. And it was told the king of Jericho, saying, Behold, there come men here at night of the children of Israel to search out the country. And the king of Jericho sent unto Rachab, saying, Bring forth those men that are come to you, which are entered into your house. What's she going to do? What is she going to do? For they be come to search out all the country, and the woman took the 2 men and hid them. Just like, what is it? I can't remember what her name is. Last name Updike. You can look it up. And hid them. And then she said this, There came men unto me, but I don't know where they are. And it came to pass about the time of the shutting of the gate, it was dark, that the men went out. Where the men went, I know not. Chase after them quickly now, for you shall overtake them. But she brought them up to the roof of the house and hid them with the stalks of flax, which she had laid in order upon the roof. And the men pursued after them the way to Jordan unto the ford. And as soon as they were chasing, after they had gone out, they shut the gate. Now before they were laid down, she came up unto them upon the roof, and she said unto the men. Now this is very, very key. She knew how to speak Hebrew. She knew the name of Jehovah. Now how did she know how to speak Hebrew? Well, Jericho was a gate city into the land of Canaan. Kind of like New York City is the gate city to the United States of America. A lot of people were multilingual back then. She said, I know Jehovah has given you the land. She, therefore, was a Zionist, acknowledging that the land has been given by Jehovah to the people of Israel. These are the words that are coming out of her mouth. This is the righteousness that a servicer of men is coming out of her mouth. She hid these 2 Israelis. And then she confesses, I know that Jehovah has given you the land. Terror and dread is fallen. Those inhabitants of the land have melted. Their hearts have melted because of you. We heard how Jehovah, not God, not Jesus, dried up the water of the Red Sea for you when you came out of Egypt, and what you did to the 2 kings of the Amorites who were on the other side of Jordan. Sihon and Og, whom you utterly destroyed. And when we heard these things, our hearts did melt, neither did there remain any more courage in any man because of you. For Jehovah Elohim, that's right, you see it right there, Jehovah Elohim, is Elohim in heaven above and in the earth beneath. Here she is, confessing, professing Shem Jehovah. Now therefore I pray you, swear by Jehovah, since I have showed you kindness. Is this kindness that this servicer of men going to be accepted as righteousness? That you will also show kindness unto my father's house and give me a true token. She wants them to swear and them to give a token. And that you will save alive my father, my mother, my brothers, my sisters, and all that have delivered oneself our lives from death. And the men answered her, our life for yours. Be conspicuous of this word. When Jehovah has given us the land, we will deal kindly and truly with you. And then she let them by a cord through the window, for her house was upon the town wall, and she dwelt upon the wall. And she said, now get you to the mountain, lest the pursuers meet you, and hide yourselves there for 3 days, until the pursuers be returned, and afterward you may go your way. And the men said unto her, we will be blameless of this oath which you have made us swear. When we come into the land, there's your token right there. You shall bind this very line of scarlet rope, not thread, cord, rope that they shinnied down the wall with, in the window which you did let us down by. You shall bring your father, your mother, and your brethren, and all your father's household home unto you. So one woman's act of kindness saved her entire household. Think about this for a minute. Not only saved her entire household, but sanctified them. And it shall be that whosoever shall go outside the doors of the house into the street, his blood shall be on his own head, and we will be guiltless. And whosoever shall be with you in your house, his blood be upon our head, if any be upon him. If you utter this speech, this word, then the oath is null and void, and which you have made us to swear. And she said, according to your word, so it be. And she sent them away, and departed. She bound the scarlet line in the window. Now, Gentile. Harlot, Gentile. Saved, Gentile.
What would happen if there was a full-scale nuclear war between Russia?
Now it's time to play the video. Except, all right.
What would happen if there was a full-scale nuclear war between Russia and the United States? Based on non-classified data, the aftermath might go something like this.
It's about 5 minutes long, I think.
When one side launches nuclear missiles, the other side detects them and fires back before impact. U.S. submarine-launched ballistic missiles from west of Norway start striking Russia after about 10 minutes, and Russian ones from north of Canada start hitting the US a few minutes later. The very first strikes are high-altitude EMP attacks, frying electronics and power grids by creating an electromagnetic pulse of tens of thousands of volts per meter. The next strikes target command and control, as well as nuclear launch facilities. Land-based intercontinental ballistic missiles take about half an hour to arrive. Major cities are targeted, both because they contain military facilities and to stymie the enemy's post-war recovery. Some cruise missiles take hours to reach their target. Each impact creates a fireball about as hot as the core of the sun, followed by a radioactive mushroom cloud. These intense explosions vaporize people nearby and cause fires and blindness further away. The fireball expansion then causes a blast wave that damages buildings, crushing nearby ones. The United Kingdom and France have nuclear capabilities and are obliged by NATO's Article 5 to defend the US. So, Russia hits them too. Firestorms engulf many cities, where storm-level winds fan the flames, igniting anything that can burn, melting glass and some metals, and turning asphalt into flammable hot liquid. But the explosions, the electromagnetic pulse, and the radioactivity aren't the worst part. Nuclear winter is, caused by the black carbon smoke from the nuclear firestorms. The Hiroshima atomic bomb caused such a firestorm, but today's hydrogen bombs are much more powerful. A large city like Moscow, with almost 50 times more people, can create much more smoke. And a firestorm sends plumes of black smoke up into the stratosphere, far above any rain clouds that would otherwise wash out the smoke. This black smoke gets heated by sunlight, lofting it like a hot...
Okay, we'll stop right here, and when you look at this, I want you to read Isaiah 60, where it says, darkness covers the Gentiles. Okay? Darkness covers the earth. Now you will see that the land of Israel is partially darkened by this as well. And if you read the books of the prophets, you will see that, yes, that's exactly what's going to happen, but the light of Jehovah is going to shine upon Mount Zion. Let's continue.
They are ballooned for up to a decade. High-altitude jet streams are so fast that it takes only a few days for the smoke to spread across much of the northern hemisphere. In the meantime,
now, I want to show you this as well. Those black folks in the United States of America that are looking for reparations from white folks, you might want to think about, if you have no Zionist intentions, you might want to think about going back to Africa. Something I want to point out is the sons of Japheth are the ones that are going to lose their lands. They are the ones that got the blessing first and are going to wind up living in the tents of Shem, as the book of Genesis, I'm not sure if it's chapter 13, I do believe it is. It says Japheth gets a wide land blessing, but in the end he will be living in the tents of Shem. Why is that? Well, you should know by now why that is. The sons of Japheth, for the most part, were the persecutors of Israel and the Jews. And if you read Yoel 3, it appears that during this time that the Sabians are still going to be living in their own lands, because the inhabitants of Gaza and southern Lebanon are going to be deported there. And you can see that the southern hemisphere. That is, unless China is involved. Now, if China is involved, then all bets are off. Okay, so let's just continue.
Earth gets freezing cold, even during the summer, with farmland in Kansas cooling by about 20 degrees centigrade, or 40 degrees Fahrenheit.
There's not going to be a way to... Listen, United States, right now, United States, Russia, and Ukraine are together. Let's just say Brazil also together are the breadbasket of the world. When you remove this right here, and you remove Russia and Ukraine from the situation, as far as the bread and butter, it's over, folks. It's starvation time. And I have told you, year after year after year, in these YouTube videos, that you need to get you a nice, strong supply of food and a way to get water.
Regions cooling almost twice as much. A recent scientific paper estimates that over 5 billion people could starve to death, including around 99% of those in the United States, Europe, Russia, and China. We obviously don't know how many people will survive a nuclear war. But if it's even remotely as bad as scientists think, then it has no winners, merely losers.
Okay. This is going to happen, folks. How it's going to start? Well, we shall see. But it is 100% guaranteed it's going to happen. Well, how do I know this? Let's go to Revelation 9. Now you may say, well, Henry, how do you know that the fifth shofar sound hasn't already happened? Well, I'm not saying it has or hasn't. But there is something here where it talks about the shape of the locusts were like unto horses prepared unto battle, and on their heads were like crowns, like crown of gold, and their faces were as the faces of men. You know, like 2 eyes and looks like a mouth and all that. They had a hair as the hair of women, and so they had what looked like there could be hair on top of its head, which probably are the main propeller. And their teeth were as the teeth of lions. Oh, they had teeth as teeth of lions, but they had breastplates of iron, so they were made of iron. They had teeth of lions. So let's look at this, having teeth of lions. Helicopters with teeth. Right. So you see these Cobra Army helicopters. Okay. And on this one right here, you can even see, I don't know why I can't make the picture bigger. Right here, or right here, I'm not sure, it could be construed as a crown of gold. Okay? But I want to show you this. These are Huey gunships from 1966 and 1971 in Vietnam. We don't know all the things that they were doing in Vietnam. But we have a marker, and the marker is the teeth on these locusts. You will say, well, Henry, they were using napalm to burn everything. That is true, they were. But you don't know everything that happened over there. Some things were kept secret. So what I'm saying is, this is circa 1960s with the teeth on these helicopters. And if any of those things actually happened, that's written in here, then that would mean that the fifth shofar sound has already taken place, and I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it has taken, because I don't know. What I am saying is we are sitting in the era of here for sure. It's impossible to overlook. You see, Zelensky accuses Russia of firing first intercontinental missile at, what was I showing you day before yesterday? What did I show you? I showed you a picture of this, and lo and behold, there it is, yet again, a Yars mobile ICBM launcher with this on the breastplate. And the sixth messenger sounded, I heard a voice from the four horns of the golden altar, which is in front of Jehovah, not God, saying to the sixth messenger, which had the shofar, loose the four messengers which are tied up and bound. Why are they tied up and bound? Because they were out of control in the early days, and they were tied up and bound to be let loose in the last days in the great river Euphrates. And the four messengers were loosed, and they were prepared for an hour, a day, and a month, and a year, for to slay the third part of men. So this era is going to be an hour, a day, and a month, and a year. Do you have a food and water supply that will take care of you and your family for an hour, a day, a month, and a year? You don't? You've been sleeping. That's right, you've been sleeping. You're not ready. You're not ready for what's about to happen. And the armies of the horses were two, not 200, but 2 myriad. So is it 4 myriads? I don't know. I don't know. I don't speak Greek, and Yochanan was speaking Hebrew. And I heard the number of them. And I saw the horses in the vision, and not them that sat on them. It says, I saw the horses in the vision to be seated on them, having breastplates of fire, of jacinth, of brimstone. And I showed you yesterday that it fits the ribbon of St. George. It's the colors of the ribbon of St. George. That is on the side of these ICBM launchers. This, the color of fire, the color of jacinth, and brimstone. So jacinth can be with a more red and black, or it can be a more yellow and black. In this case, it's yellow and black. In the days of the USSR, it was orange or red and black. But today, it's yellow and black. That means today's era. Okay? So now we have an identifying marker. Just like in the fifth shofar sound, we had an identifying marker, which was the British and the American flying tigers and helicopters. That's right, American and British. So we have yet another marker. A marker of the sixth shofar sound. And a time frame of a year, a month, and a day. for to kill a third of men. Now, that particular video says if this thing were to continue without intervention, 99% of the people in the United States, I believe Europe, Russia, and China would be killed, would die. But you see, there are Jews living in the United States. There are more Jews living in the United States than any other country in the world besides Israel. There are Zionists, like myself, living in the United States. It is written that if those days were not curtailed, no flesh would be saved alive, but for the elect's sake. And who are the elect? Well, Paul in Romans 11 says that Israel is the elect for Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob's sake. It says for the father's sake, for the patriarch's sake, for the Abba's sake. Okay? And it describes these mobile ICBMs with the ribbon of St. George, breastplates having fire, jacinth, and brimstone on their breastplate of that which was sitting on the horse. And with these were the third part of men killed by the fire, by the smoke, and by the brimstone which came out of their mouth, for their power is in their mouth and in their tails. I pointed that out yesterday, what that means. For their tails were like unto serpents' tails, and heads or head with which they do the damage. And the rest of the men which were not killed by these plagues yet repented not of the works of their hands, that they should not worship devils like Jesus. Jesus is Attis, a transvestite idol of the Phrygians. And to prove it, they have Jesus wearing the same points of light as a Statue of Liberty, as the sun idol, Attis, or Helios, same thing. Or Apollyon, same thing. Which is why you have here in the fifth shofar sound, they had a king over them who is the messenger of the abyss, whose name in the Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, but in the Greek tongue his name is Apollyon. I have done extensive study and posted videos on this Apollyon, Attis, Jesus, Helios, and how Helios is revered inside the Vatican. Now, neither did they repent of their murders, of their pharmakeia, you know exactly what that means, nor of their fornication, and I pointed out it is exactly what it says, but there's more to it. This transvestitism, as I pointed out yesterday in that video, Paul said no fornicator is going to be allowed to enter in the kingdom, and that particular word meant men who sell themselves on the street. You know what that is. Now, we go to, so I'm saying to you, I think I have a timeline. So right here in Luke 21, it says in verse 25, and there shall be signs in the moon and in the stars. What are the signs? If you bother to read Yoel 2. Yoel 2. The signs in heaven the sun will turn dark and the moon into blood. It says, let's go there. Let's just go there. Where are you? There you are. Yoel 2. In the after part, I will pour out my ruach upon the flesh of your sons and your daughters. That is written in Ezekiel 39. Is it verse 22? Beginning of verse 22, I believe. I think it is. And your daughters and your old men shall dream to your sons and your daughters shall prophesy, your old men shall dream dreams, and your young men shall see visions. Upon the servant and upon the handmaid in those days will I pour out my ruach. I will show wonders in the sky and in the earth, blood in the earth, fire in the earth, timara, palm-like columns of smoke. Let me show you what that looks like. They change up the pictures well, there you go. That's what. Blood in the sky, blood in the earth, and palm-like columns of smoke. That's your sign. That's what you're looking for. Facing the great and terrible day of Jehovah's wrath. Okay? What happens right after that? So I'm giving you a timeline. Okay? What happens right after that? Am I saying 2 seconds after that? Nope. Am I saying a week after that? Nope. Am I saying a month after that? Nope. That's why I'm telling you, you need to have at the very least, a year food supply, water supply, and a way to heat your home. And you people out there in the city, remember Lot's wife, remember the days of Sodom and Gomorrah. They had to run from the city and go into the caves. Let's look at this again. So Yoel 2 is describing a nuclear war. And so is this. By these three was a third part of men killed by the fire and by the smoke and the brimstone. Okay? So what happens after this? Well, what we see here is a messenger telling Yochanan that all of these things, everything is going to be finished as the second shofar is beginning to sound. So we are still in the sixth shofar sound. What's next? Here we go. The two witnesses are after that. That's right, the two witnesses. Now, Revelation 12 goes on to, in a summary of beginning to the end of the work of the two witnesses. But right now, what we're going to do is read this. So this is right after the nuclear war. Is it 1 month after? I don't know. Is it a week after? I don't know. Is it 9 months after? I don't know. And that is the reason why you need a year, a month, and a day supply of food and water for your family. You must be ready. Don't be like the foolish versions on the versions of Matityahu 25 and verse 8. And the foolish said unto the wise, give us of your oil, for our lamps are gone out. But the wise answered and says, not so, lest there be not enough for us and you, but go rather to them that sell and buy for yourselves. Go find it, go look for yourself for necessities. And while they went out to buy, the bridegroom came, and they that were ready went in. Now, 2 witnesses. This is probably going to be the best timeline I can find for myself and for you. Like I say, I do my Bible study, I share it with you, you do with it what you will. Okay? So, there was given unto me, Yohanan, a reed like unto a rod, while he was having a vision. And the messenger stood and rise and said, measure the temple, and the temple was still erect in those days, of Jehovah, and the altar, and them that worship therein. But the court which is outside the temple, cast out, banish, and measure it not, because it is given unto the Gentiles. And they will tread down the holy city for 42 months, and they did. Those who say they have yet to do so, you are denying an entire Holocaust that occurred 70 AD on your Roman calendar. And because of what they did to Jerusalem, he's going to give power unto his 2 witnesses. When are the 2 witnesses going to arise? Right after the nuclear exchange. And they will prophesy 1,260 days, clothed in sackcloth. These are the 2 olive trees and the 2 lampstands standing before the Elohim of the earth. This is EliYah and Elisha, the 2 prophets of ancient Israel, said these words, the Adonai of the earth before whom I stand. So they're going to be coming with the power of EliYah and Elisha, but also with the power of Moshe. Because Moshe led the children of Israel out of Egypt. These 2 are going to lead the children of Israel out of Babylon. And if many men will hurt them, fire proceeds out of their mouth, like what happened with Elisha, not Elijah, or I should say EliYah. When the king sent a captain of 50 to capture him, and they said, man of Elohim, come down from that mountain and come with us. And he said, if I be a man of Elohim, let fire come down and devour you and your 50. And it happened. So out of his mouth, or by the word that proceeded from his mouth, fire came down from the sky. So will these 2 men have that same power, and devours their enemies. If any man will hurt them, he must be in this manner be killed. They have the power to shut heaven, that it rain not in the days of their prophecy, though there will be no rain for 3.5 years, period. And have power over the waters to turn them into blood, and to smite the earth with all plagues as often as they will. When they shall have finished their testimony, The beast which ascends from the abyssos, that would be the Mediterranean Sea, aka Rome, shall make war against them and shall overcome them and kill them. Now, we go to Revelation 12 and it explains all of this. The woman and the dragon. There appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. That woman is Israel. It is not Europe. It is not the church. And you're going to find out, those of you who disagree, you're going to find out, and you're going to find out the hard way. And she, being with child, cried, travailing in birth and pain to be delivered. Did the church deliver the Messiah? No. Israel did, through Miriam. And there appeared another wonder in the sky, and behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 crowns upon his head. And his tail drew the third part of the stars of the sky, and did cast them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman, which was ready to be delivered, for to devour her child as soon as it was born. So this is a summary. It's a summary. And he's going to get to the meat and potatoes of what we just discussed in a minute. She brought forth a man-child who was to rule the Gentiles. That's right. Rule all the Gentiles. With a rod of iron. How does he rule with a rod of iron? Watch this. Rod of iron. And why rule with a rod of iron? Revelation 2:27. He's going to rule the Gentiles with an iron rod and smash them like clay. That's how. Where did he get this from? He got this from Psalm 2 verse 9. You will break them with a rod of iron. You will dash them to pieces like pottery. So the Gentiles are going to be dashed to pieces. What's left of them. Let's continue. And her child was caught up unto Jehovah to his throne, and the woman fled into the wilderness where she had a place prepared by Jehovah, that they should feed her there for 1,260 days. Well, that's the same amount of time. That's right, the same amount of time that we show here with the 2 witnesses. 1,260 days. That's right. And who is they? Who is they? You will find out if you read Isaiah 60 who they is. Read all of it. The Gentiles are going to have to do it, because the 2 witnesses are going to force them to do it. Okay? Now, so he talks about a war in heaven. Is the war in heaven after or before? No, it is before this takes place. There was a war in heaven. Michael and his messengers fought against the dragon, dragon false and his messengers, and they prevailed not, neither was the place found any more in the sky. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceived the whole world. He was cast into the earth, and his messengers were cast out with him. Now, when did this occur? Yehoshua, in the book of Yohanan, I believe it's in chapter 14 or 16, I can't remember what it is, he says, because I will no longer communicate much with you, because the prince of this world is coming and he has nothing to do with me. So at that particular time, when he ascended, is when Satan was cast out. Okay? So then the dragon persecutes the woman. Well, what happened when Yehoshua ascended and the dragon, the devil, was cast down? They began persecuting Israel for nearly 2,000 years. Rape, pillage, murder, genocide. Rape, pillage, murder, genocide. Over and over and over and over again. And then, at 325 CE, Constantine came along and ordered a new name for a Moshiach. He ordered that all Jewish traditions must be abolished, and that they worship instead on the Roman pagan holidays. And they began to rape, pillage, and murder the Jews, and they have done so to this very day. And this event that is just about, appears to be about to happen, would also kill the Jews without even the Jews firing a shot. We just have a video to prove it. 99% death upon everyone in the northern hemisphere. He persecuted the woman who brought forth the man-child for nearly 2,000 years. And to the woman was given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness in her place. This is talking about, this is all happening right here. This is happening right here. Starting in verse 14, in the 6th shofar sound, after the bombs start flying, the nukes start flying. The woman is Israel, not the church. If you say it's church, then you are committing the sin of replacement theology, which will get you dragged into the Great Tribulation. It is Israel. If you bothered to read Romans 11, you would know this. We're given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness. Read again Isaiah 60. It says exactly the same thing. It says they are flying on the ships of Tarshish. And they're coming from Tarshish first. Why? Why? Because that's where the majority of the Jews and lost Israel are located today, that are not in Israel. Back to her place, the Holy Land, where she is nourished for a time and times and half a time. You will see, if you bother to read Isaiah 60, who is going to nourish her and how she's going to be nourished. It's not hard. From away from the face of the serpent, and the serpent cast out his mouth water as a flood. So the people of the serpent, aka the Euro-Christians, that's right, I said that, are going to be very upset by this. After they have launched nukes at each other. And they're going to try to invade Israel. And that is where the Yoel 3 war commences. We have part of Yoel 3 war happening right now with Lebanon and Gaza. But I'm talking about this. That is where this commences. What I'm telling you right now is probably the best timeline I can possibly show you. Okay? Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare a war, wake up the mighty men and all them to draw near, let them come up, beat your plowshares and the swords and your pruning hooks and the spears, let the weak say, I am strong. This is when they're going to invade Israel. The sun and the moon will be dark. It will be a time when the sun and the moon is dark. Why? Because they've already launched nukes at themselves, at each other. That's right. Yes, I had a little bit of learning last night. So I'm sharing it with you. Every time I feel that I have learned something, I do not hide it in a basket. I am sharing it with the world. While the sun and the moon and the stars have withdrawn their shining. And Jehovah shall roar out of Zion and utter his voice from Jerusalem, and the heavens and the earth shall shake, but Jehovah will be the hope of his people and the strength of the children of Israel. Now, who is going to be saved? Who? Let me show you who. We go to Yoel 2. Before we go to Yoel 2, we're going to go to Romans 11. Oh, not Romans 11. Now, verse 25, for I would not, brethren, that you should be ignorant of this mystery, lest you should be wise in your own conceits, that blindness, that partial blindness, happened to Israel until the filling up of the Gentiles become in, or the filling up of the time of the Gentiles. If you bother to read Luke 25, you will see when the time of the Gentiles comes to the end, right here. Shall be treading down of the Gentiles until the time of the Gentiles is fulfilled. Okay? That's what it means. And so all Israel shall be saved, because it is written, there shall come out of Zion the deliverer who will turn away unrighteousness from Jacob, because this is my covenant, the new covenant, with them when I shall take away their sins. The new covenant that he talked about in Jeremiah 31, verses 31 through 34. That one. Oh, Roman, they might be concerning the glad tidings, they might be enemies for your sakes, but they are the elect, the Eloge, for the patriarchs' sakes, for the Ab's sakes, for Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov's sakes. For the gifts and calling of Jehovah cannot be changed. No, church, you can never supersede Israel. And your doctrine of supersessionism is an act of violence against Israel, which is why the church must suffer the great tribulation. Now, so The serpent cast out of his mouth water as a flood after the woman. That's the invasion. It happens after, or while, or after the two witnesses have gathered all Israel and brought them back into the Holy Land. And they're going to come in and invade. That is the second part of the Yoel 3 war. He helped the woman. The earth helped the woman, Ezekiel 38 and 39. And the earth opened up her mouth and swallowed up the flood which the dragon cast out of his mouth. The dragon was angry with the woman and made war with who? Well, the ones who were in the land of Tarshish. Yes, it says that in Isaiah 66. Pul and Lud. These fugitives will be there to bring plagues upon their lands. Well, once their job is finished, the two witnesses, see, this is discussing what the Gentiles are going to do in Revelation 11, where it says, when they have finished their testimony, the beast which ascended from the abyss shall make war against them and shall overcome them and kill them. So we go to 12, and this is mentioning it again. And the dragon was wroth with the woman, but he couldn't do anything to her. He got defeated. And went to make war with the remnant of her seed, that's two witnesses, which keep the commandments of Jehovah and have the testimony of Yehoshua. That's the two witnesses. And they killed him. And then what happens? Well, we go back to when they have finished their testimony, the beast which ascends from the abyss shall make war against them. They shall overcome them and kill them, and their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city. Jerusalem was never called the great city, which is figuratively called Sodom and Egypt, and by whom, but it says where here. But it should read by whom. Or which. The city which. Hold on. And Egypt. The city which Jehovah was crucified. Which city crucified him? Rome did. Rome did. The Gentiles did. Proof. Handed over to the Gentiles. Handed over to the Gentiles. I hope I can find it. I'll have to Google it if I can't find it. Okay, I'll have to Google it. To be true. Oh, delivered. Okay, it's Matityahu 20, verse 19. And shall deliver him to the Gentiles to be mocked and scourged and crucified, and on the third day. So who? Who did it? The Gentiles. You see, you Gentiles have been accusing the Jews for years. Well, the Jews were guilty, but so are you. And you Gentiles were given a chance of redemption, but you rejected it. And you instead pointed the finger at the Jew rather than pointing the finger at yourself. And you persecuted the Jews. with the blessing of Satan for nearly 2,000 years. So it's talking about you Gentiles. And that city, Rome. But you see how King James manipulated you into believing that it was Jerusalem? But Jerusalem was never called that great city. Never. Where was I? And after 3.5 days, the Ruach of life from Jehovah entered into them, and they stood upon their feet, and great fear fell upon them which saw them. And they heard a great voice from the sky saying to them, Come up here. And they sent it up to the sky in a cloud, and their enemies saw. And at the same hour was there a great earthquake, and a 10th part of that city fell, and in the earthquake was slain of men 7,000, and a remnant, that's those who were in Israel, were affrighted and gave glory to Jehovah of heaven. The second woe is past, and behold, the third woe comes quickly. And the third woe is the 7th shofar sound. And if we go back to, listen carefully, folks. We go back to Revelation 10. I'm sorry, 10. 10 and verse 7. Here's what we see. Please look at and listen carefully. But in the days of the voice of the 7th messenger, when about to sound. So when the days of the 7th messenger is about to sound, the mystery, that means in the days of the 6th shofar sound, all the way to the end, when it is finally finished and the 7th shofar is about to sound, the mystery of Jehovah is going to be complete. What is the mystery of Jehovah? It is the bringing back all Israel, all of them. Not just the halacha Jews. No. But more than that. That would be all Jews, halacha Jews, all non-halacha Jews. That would be all lost Jews, all crypto Jews, all of the lost 10 tribes of Israel. But there's more. Let's go to Isaiah. I can't remember if it's 4 or 14. I'm always find myself going to the wrong one the very first time. Yep, it's 14. I want you to listen carefully. Jehovah will have mercy on Jacob, and will choose Israel and set them in their own land. And strangers will be joined with them. Strangers like Rachab, harlot, a servicer of men. That's right. Why? Because they are Zionists. Zionists first. And they will cleave, attach themselves, join to, they will be grafted in to the house of Jacob, just like it says in Romans 11. If some of the branches are broken off and you being a wild olive were grafted in among them, joined with them, that's right, and partaking jointly with them, so you must be a Zionist. Otherwise, you would never be willing to do so anyway. Where was I? Isaiah. And the people shall take them and bring them to their place. That would be the Gentiles are going to take them and bring them to their place, because if you would read Isaiah 60, you would know this. It will be loaded up on the ships of Tarshish, the flying ships of Tarshish first. That's what it says, word for word. And they will be flying back home. To the house of, bring them to their place, the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of Jehovah for servants and handmaids. So there will be those who are cleave to the people of Israel that will be joined with them. These are graftees. And the people who are forced to take them and bring them to their place, they are going to be servants and handmaids. Why? Because they took them captives, whose captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors. So their oppressors, the sons of Japheth, will be ruled over by Israel in the land of Israel. Now, I think that I have given myself plenty of time to explain this to you. These things are going to happen. There is no way around it. You are seeing the handwriting on the wall right now. Why are you not ready? I'll tell you why you're not ready. Because you are drunk with the cares of this world. That's why. That's why you're not ready. I think I'm done here. I could go on. I find a scripture about surfeiting. Yeah, there we go. That's the word I'm looking for. Sir. Right. Here we are, Luke 21:24. There it is. Luke 21:24. Oh, no, I'm sorry. It's not Luke 20. It's down here. Be watchful. Verse 34. Take heed to yourselves, lest at any time your hearts be overcharged with surfeiting. That's drunken, nausea, and drunken with the cares of this life. And I'm telling you, if you have not made your preparations, that is you. I don't know how else to explain it to you. I hate to be so harsh with the truth, but the truth is not soft. The truth is hard. And so that day come upon you unawares, because as a snare it shall come upon all those who dwell upon the face of the earth. Watch you therefore and pray that you shall be accounted worthy to escape all of these things that shall come to pass, and to stand before the Son of Man. And one more scripture that I have before I go. I would be very unhappy if I missed this one. I believe it's again here when you see these things begin to happen. There, hold on. Is it here? Right here. Okay. So we have determined that the signs in the sun and the moon and the stars are blood in the sky, blood in the earth, and palm-like columns of smoke. Okay? And upon the earth, distress upon what? The Gentiles. Right here, that's what it says. The Gentiles. Distress upon the Gentiles. And when you see these things commence to come to pass, when you start seeing these nukes flying at each other in the northern hemisphere, then look up and lift up your heads, for your redemption draws nigh. Now when it comes to timeline, this is probably the best I can give you. But I'm not giving it to you. The scripture already has. I'm just trying to point it out to you English-speaking people in a way that you can understand. I hope this has been helpful.